Tones of Stone. These poems are like suicide notes, heavy like stones that head-dress graves. I recite them in silence of runaway slaves, ghost writer's tone. Dedications to the microphone. When I slam thought, I stretch the scope, endless tones and notes of stone. Hello, I am Lethahanolo Ndlovu, and if you know these words, then you're familiar with the writer of this verse, poet Xitha Makgeta. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's speak about these poems that are like suicide notes.
Yeah.
Where inside do they stem from?
I guess they stand from a personal perspective of the times that we live in, you know. I mean, these are just poems that are inspired by the current times, and these are just my personal expression and nothing else. Yeah.
When did you acknowledge yourself as a poet?
I guess maybe it was just after my matric, when I started coming to town, because I grew up in the township, you know. So when I started coming to town and doing this poetry thing around town, that's when I started knowing that I am a poet. But then I had started writing before that.
Yeah. Are there any poets, let's say, that inspired that thought, well, this is what I want to do right now?
I guess it was the time that we found ourselves in South Africa. I mean, back in the time when around 2001, 2000, 2002, the youth culture was so vibrant, you know, so it was just one of the energies that just took me over, you know. So the art scene was very vibey, the radio stations were playing poetry on radio, it was just nice. So I guess the time itself, and yeah, obviously a couple of poets stand out. Yeah.
Sure. Like for mine, because I know who you've been on stage with you know, those are amazing poets of our time. Well, not our time, but they're still around.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Very, very great artists. Well, the artist that got me at that time, I think Kafela Wamahubudi stands out. He was very, very powerful at that time. Around Pretoria, there was cats like Bo Tabiso. Some people know him, some don't. Obviously, your Mashile with your Latitude show on TV.
I remember that.
Your link with spoken word, you know. So yeah, kind of vibes really got me.
Yeah. Okay. And why poetry as a genre?
Well, I guess for me it started in the streets. So hip hop was my first connection to writing. You know, I guess. In fact, understanding the writing. I guess I connected to writing before hip hop, but then understanding writing, I think hip hop introduced me to that route. So it's more street inspired for me. So I connect more. I mean, I tell stories from the streets. You know, I'm not in the office from 9 to 12. You know, I'm in the streets. So I connect with the streets. So the stories that I tell is the stories that I see around the street. Stories that I hear when I'm in the taxi, because I use a taxi, I don't have a car. So like these are stories of the people that I connect with on a daily basis. So that's why I say I'm a street poet on that level, you know.
You've published this book, Bits and Pieces. It's your first volume of poetry. You've self-published it. Congratulations, self-published.
Yeah.
Now, these are written between 2010 and 2015, right?
Yeah.
What was your writing and thinking process during that time?
If I can explain the book a little bit, it starts with a play. It's a three-man play where I was trying to express the tone that I got around the street. You know, if you read the book itself, there's no sweet poem, there's no love poem, there's no. You know, and I think that's the energy that I was feeling around that time. So this poem was inspired by the frustration. In the play, we have a dancer, a krump dancer. If you know krump in hip hop, that's a very angry kind of dance. So that's how I wanted to reflect the anger of the poems. You know, so they're not necessarily angry, but they are more frustrated poems. You know what I mean? So I tried to release that frustration through that dance. And then obviously I believe in sound. I'm not a musician, I'm a writer. So sound is more important than music to me because I'm not a musician. I can't talk the music language, you know. So I brought sound, which was the beatboxologist himself, to bring that sound to accompany the word, you know. So that's where the book comes from. So most of the poems from that play are in this book, you know. So hence Bits and Pieces still, you know.
Okay, so you've self-published. Let's go back on that. Would you recommend that any other author take this route, considering marketing is in your hands?
Well, for me, I was at a time where I was a bit frustrated because I had submitted my manuscript to different publishers, right? And then most of them didn't come back to me, you know, and I don't know why. I guess maybe they still haven't read my manuscript or whatever, I don't know. But then I had submitted and then I still didn't have an answer. And some of my academic friends advised me not to self-publish. They were like, no, hold it, you know. But I felt within me that if I'm holding this piece, then I'm forever gonna be in this piece, you know. So I wanna jump out of this piece. So the way, for me, a way of getting over my work is to publish it and let it out, and then I'll start looking for something to work on as well, you know. So I was at that point where I wanted to get over this because it's been like 5 years already, you know, working on this frustration, these things that I'm seeing, you know, and I wanted to get out of that energy, you know, so the best way was to publish. So I decided to self-publish. So yeah, I think I would recommend, because simply because you have authority over everything, you know, everything, you know. It's a challenge in terms of marketing and for people to access the book, but then I believe that there's always ways how people can access this material, you know what I mean? As long as they can try contact you, then you can get the book too. It's also one of those things where I felt like the authority that I was given by self-publishing this book, it gave me a chance to actually reflect on myself, you know, as an artist and as a writer and as a business person in this industry of literature.
Your whole brand.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It helped me to reflect. So now I know my weaknesses in terms of where I am as a person, as a brand, as you say, you know. So I know the challenges that I need to because simply I took this route.
So what we're also saying is that it's possible. Let's not wait for other people to come knocking on our doors or to give us permission to carry on with the project that, you know, you have in mind.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I agree.
Yeah. I was reading an article. Yes, it's press just last week Sunday. And there was a poet called Koleka Putuma, and she says what publication does with words is that it puts the writer and the reader apart, like it sets a distance, you know, from you as the writer, the poet. You're on stage, you're able to recite, I hear you, and I'm reading your book. Do you feel that way as well, that there's a distance?
Well, this book specifically, I wrote it with performance. It's more performance poems in this book, you know. So if you've seen me perform and you take my book and read it, you can actually see the performance in the book. That's what I believe, you know, because how my poems are and how I perform them on stage is exactly, if you listen to the rhythm, you'll see the rhythm that I'm on in the book, you know. So it's not really a disconnect, but then I think it's an extension more, precisely because I think if you are constantly on stage, I can't take you home, and sometimes I wanna go back to that poem and reflect on it, and it's very important that I do that because I heard you, but then I just wanna confirm that I heard you, you know. So I think it's an extension of me, you know. So I'm glad to have a book that I'm pushing that people can read anyway without seeing me perform. But it would be nice to read my book when you've seen me perform.
Okay. Now, in the poem, freedom is cruel. Now, what do you mean when you say, what does the poem mean in totality when you say, it left us peddling dreams and writing poems. Now we recycle recitals, memorizing line like celebrities on cocaine. Freedom is cruel. I saw it televised. Freedom was tied like a rope on Solomon's neck. Now freedom is a rainbow nation with cut and paste anthem, political rhetoric, corruption emblem. I love how you put that together. What do you say? What do you say?
Well, this poem is, I mean, it's a snippet of a reflection on my country, you know, because I think we are in freedom. You know, we like to believe that we are in freedom, and we are in freedom. But then at the same time, I feel that it's a freedom that it came and then it never changed a lot. It's very sad that with the same freedom, I mean, I mean, I reflect on Solomon. I reflect on Solomon's death because I think it's one death that actually we pride ourselves on, but then in reality, the benefits of the death, you know, you know, he said it was the blood, the fruits, his blood was going to water the trees that's going to bear the fruits. I think the fruits are still not there, and then yet we pride ourselves on that blood, you know, that blood was spilled for us. But then the fruits are supposed to be here, but then we struggle to see them. I'm not saying they're not here. They are here, but then they're not really for everyone. You know, I think that's a concern for me. So I'm trying to reflect. I mean, we peddling dreams. Yeah, we are peddling dreams on a daily. We're writing poems, some of us, you know. So it's cruel on that level for me because it's like it came and then it never changed anything.
I don't know if people will like the fruits that are still not there yet. You know, I don't know if you're talking about economic situation for black people, because I also realize that the themes of poverty and wealth feature quite a lot in your poems, because there are no love poems like you said. You know, it's frustration that you needed to release. So why is that? Because
it's a reality. It's what we live around. You know, like if you go to the township, you see it. If you go to the suburbs, you see it. You know, so there is that that division amongst. You know, so you'd find that it's very like it's something that. It's the fruit that's supposed to be for everyone, because we even pride ourselves on the freedom charter that we have, on how everyone is gonna share everything, you know what I'm saying? But if you look at the reality, so I'm trying to reflect on the reality because it's very important. I'm not saying the government is what, the government is that. I'm just saying this is the reality that I see. I see people who are in the suburbs, people who never even come to the township. I mean, I see people who are in the township who never even go to town. You know what I'm saying? So so it's very sad, you know. I'm in this land where there's this contrast, you know. So I'm just trying to reflect on that, you know. Right.
And Mamelodi all your life?
Not all my life. I actually had a part of my life in Limpopo, my childhood. In fact, I think I came back to I was born in Mamelodi, and then when I was around 2, my mom took me back home. I stayed with my grandparents until I was around 12, 13, and then I came back to Mom's, and I've been in Mom's ever since then. Yeah.
So it makes sense then that you were able to write this piece, Mamelodi.
Yeah.
Okay, so I also want to hear, in this last verse where you say, I hear them scream like wolves, howl at the moon, in squatter camps, under bridges, in trains, on queues and clinics, and in the banks collecting welfare. This is our ghetto. Oh, this ghetto is ours, my man. Tell mountains of Makgeta to watch them. Hey, what's the message here?
Well, the message is that as a township, as a place that I grew up in, you know, like I understand Mamelodi better because I connect with it, you know. It's where I'm from. So all my stories, if I'm talking about squatter camp, it's because I've been to a squatter camp in my hood first, and I understood that there's other squatter camps around. You know what I mean? So it's the squatter camp that I'm reflecting on is the one in Mamelodi, not anywhere else. I can talk about squatter camps, but then I can tell you more about the one in Mamelodi because that's, you know what I mean? So Mamelodi for me is my material. It's where I connect most of my stories, you know? And now I felt very sad because the township itself, it's at a point where it's supposed to be thriving, you know, compared to other townships that are around. It's supposed to be at the level where we actually celebrate our heroes, we expose more of our heroes, we tell people more, because it's a very huge township, it's very big, and it's got a whole lot of potential in terms of the youth, the energy of moms. And then it's said that the only time you hear stories about Mamelodi is when there's problems, is when there's fighting, when there's crime, when there's riots. That's the only time the nation gets to see Mamelodi, you know what I mean? So, and because I'm from there, and I see the reality that's in Mamelodi, I'm also trying to reflect on the people now. The reality is that, yeah, there are people in trains and in queues and who howl at the moon, you know, like they, you know, like, yeah, they collect welfare still, you know what I'm saying? So every time, month end, I know what they need to go, it's packed. Because people are go shop right, they are on the queue collecting that money. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reality to me. That's what I see, you know, for sure.
And how do you know when a poem is complete? When you know how it's done? You know, there's nothing more you can do to it.
It's when I try to do something on it and it doesn't happen. Yeah, then I know it's done, you know.
And then it's complete and ready for the audience.
Yeah.
And ready for us to absorb. And then you go perform it.
And then exactly. Obviously, as an artist, you also try to let try to let your performance not actually interrupt the message, you know. You're trying to allow the performance to actually push the message on, you know. So the core of my performance is my writing, is my poems. That's the only thing I can perform. I'm not an actor, I'm none of those things. I'm just the writer who reads, who performs some of his writings. Yeah.
And we have some musicians in the background.
Yeah, some musicians in the background. We just support that.
Okay, now here's a clip of Xitha performing at this year's Tshwane Speak Out Loud. He was a judge and a guest poet. Here's a clip.
We shield against shadows of grave identity, mediocre worships and altars of offerings. Swallow the planets, mother darkness, tongues weave cold expressions. Stereotype vacuum, arrogant ideologies, political orgy, televised revolutions, brands and billboards, poor people like poverty's romantic, pastors on plasmas, inebrities of celebrities, trips overseas, helicopter view the eye can see, I spark a baton to insult the security guard. When I break walls that confine me, the world is caught up in deep sleep. We roll dreams and smoke to confront reality of skyscrapers and yokes that yoke our minds. Globalized lies, the index and the price. Simplified science like red robot stop or face the speed car. So I will breathe on the beat. I come running from the dungeons or skeletons that follow me. Things that I see feels like torture to the eye. Scars worth a visit, secrets broke families, grown men cry. Reality is yet to catch up with the dream down avenues where street names have changed, we stay the same. We break bread with the enemies at any means. Justice is juxtaposed judges. City lights are a crime scene. We swipe credit cards between Jezebel's thighs. Pray for the headlines and graffiti walls are watching us. We get drunk and call mothers for fuck like raising middle fingers at men in many masks, obvious task. Break the trust like condoms, we bust the bubble. And all filth shall be added to children, fruits of our labor. The city is toxic, everyone is after paper. Put your money where your mouth is and your words will sound expensive. But actions speaks louder like sirens of a presidential convoy. Time is of the essence. But we are on hold like caught up in traffic, Madam and Eve, Adam and Steve. Should I stay or should I leave?
Stay.
My goodness. Well, I'm doing quite a lot of things now. Obviously pushing the show, but then I had started to write because I haven't been writing for a very long time. So I just recently started to jot down. So I got 2 poems that I'm working on. So I'm so excited about new material. I'm so excited about that. So I'm enjoying my writing. I think it's coming back again. Yeah, basically I'm just around town, around the country. I'm just promoting the book, you know. Yeah.
And where can people find your work, your performances, your book, if they want to access it, because it's not at any bookstore right now. So where can people find your work?
Well, the people can actually connect me via Facebook. My name is Xitha Makgeta on Facebook. On Twitter, I'm Xitha_M. And then on Instagram, I'm Xitha.m. So yeah, that's how you find me. Otherwise, yeah, you'll know everything about what I do if you connect me via those social networks. And obviously, we're building a profile properly online. So meaning a website that is coming up soon. So everything will be done from there, you know. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Xitha, for joining us here on Narangwedi. Lemukila honamo, Narangwedi, please subscribe, follow us, and yeah, see more of these interesting conversations.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Super.
And that's it.
That's it, man. This pen vomit compositions of a dread describe he mimic dance of silent monuments that watch us like scarecrows. Secret agent, season, sea, sun, saving serpents, and mother fathers come out of the closet to frown at paintings in galleries of explicit content where artists attempt to recycle their voices silenced. What's